back to the channel. Today we are doing a bunch of stuff on Chris's Tesla. So this is a, what, 21?
21.
Brand new. Model
3 performance, like, I don't know, 3,000 miles or something.
Gonna make some Corvette sat at the road course.
Yeah.
But he has KW coilovers as well as all adjustable arms that we're gonna be doing.
Pop the trunk, you can see there's a lot of parts back here.
Yeah, a lot of parts. So cts-v 6-piston front calipers. So on the Teslas, and especially Chris was saying on the Plaids, they have 4-piston front calipers, and a lot of people have been wrecking them probably because they're so fast and they don't have the braking power. So this pretty much converts it to a cts-v 6-piston caliper and the larger cts-v rotor with like a custom rotor hat.
Yeah, and it gives you, the best part is like for replacing pads, because you know you don't want to run track pads on the street, especially since you don't even use the pads most of the time. It makes it way easier to swap pads.
Yeah.
You just have this, whereas on the stock caliper you have to take the caliper off and everything.
Yeah, so it's
that makes it much more convenient.
So we'll see how much we can get done today. I think we'll start on the coilovers in the front first, since we have to do that bushing and press that in.
Front control arms, the lower control arm bushing, rear toe arms, rear camber arms, lower control arms, whatever you want to call them. So I figured we do that stuff, and then if we have time for brakes, we'll do the brakes too.
Yeah, because we have to bleed those, and we're going to try to get everything aligned as well. They have the alignment rack over there. So this isn't my shop. We're just using like a temporary shop because I have so much crap in mine, but I think this will work out very well. Since we're going to do all the suspension, could just throw it up on the alignment rack over there and get it all just busted out in one day. And let's get to work and get this thing a little bit lower. Are you going to go lower, or is it just going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to just try and go a little bit lower. You know, my wife drives it a lot too, so I know like creeping up to curbs and stuff like that. Right now it will go over them, but after that, you know, she's going to have to be careful.
got pretty much everything in the front done on the Tesla. As you can see, we are not at the college anymore. That's because all the suspension took about like 4 hours, and then we probably have another 2 hours fitting these brakes, and not because it was hard to fit them, but because the pads that we got with the swap kit, right? Yeah. Were too thick. So what we're gonna have to do, Chris is gonna actually get some street pads, and then we'll end up sanding these down so they fit. So these are using the 6-piston calipers from a cts-v, and pretty much just custom rotor hats and custom rotors. They don't use the factory GM rotors. And I think when I measured them, they were a little bit thicker because the GM ones are like 13.99. Okay. I think these were 14.03 or 04, something like that. So that's probably why we're running into issues with the pads. And you said they stopped selling these pads with this kit, right?
I think so. I don't know if they're just out of race pads or they're too thick or what. But yeah. I'm gonna measure them and see if like the AutoZone pads are the same thickness. Yeah, so we're gonna work on the rear now, but we installed, so you have to pull all this plastic, but we installed this brake master cylinder brace. And Chris actually said the brake master cylinder flexes quite a bit, so that helps out a lot. And then in the front, other than the rotors and the cts-v calipers, upper control arms, and they have these nice adjustment spacers. So that's really nice. And these are KWs, right? KW coilovers? KW coilovers, but by Mountain Pass Performance. So they're their specs, but they're a KW V3 basically. And the one thing, we were adjusting this to get ride height, but there is no adjustment on the coilover, so you pretty much preload it slash adjust it. I heard a few people were commenting on that. Yeah, apparently on more expensive coilovers, a lot of times you don't even have preload as an adjustment. It just adjusts with wherever you put the ride height at. Yeah, so usually all the coilovers I've had on my cars, I guess, aren't very expensive. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. It's just what I was reading now. Yeah, they most of the ones I have are Tane and BCs. We all know they're made in Taiwan, but I have Tane monoflexes on the FD and my 240. But yeah, this is nice. We also press in that bushing down there. So one thing to note on the bushing is a real good way to get the alignment is to pretty much, where we have one of those bushings over here, Chris. It's in that box.
This box?
Yeah.
Okay, so you pretty much just put a ruler against it and then put the marker next to the ruler, and it draws a nice line, and then you could just really line it up.
On the lower control arm, you just draw a line.
Well, and the new bushing.
Yeah, so, and the bushing, so that you know exactly where to line this.
Yeah, so we showed a little bit in the video, but it wasn't like, it's not like a how-to video. So what we're gonna do now, until we get brake pads, we'll get the rear suspension on. So it's just the separate shock and the spring, camber arms, toe arms, and thank God we don't have to do any of the brake stuff in the back.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got pads, but I already know those fit.
Yeah, so, and then on the front, you have to drill out the knuckle. I really don't like that. It's one thing that kind of is bad about this kit, because if you ever want to go back to the factory caliper, you're gonna have to put like a sleeve or something in there, because you have to drill it out. What was the drill bit?
So it's 35/64 to put a 14 millimeter bolt in it.
Yeah, so it's a 12 millimeter bolt on the factory one, goes up to a 14 millimeter. And if you want to go back, you'd have to do a sleeve because the hole would be too large and it wouldn't center the caliper. So let's get to work on this. I think Chris is pretty excited. I wish we could have all the pads and stuff done in the front, but yeah, at least the wheels fit a lot better.
We'll be done by Sunday. That's all I want.
We'll be done.
Yeah, I'm very happy that those brakes, the cts-v brakes, actually take up less space inside the wheel than the factory ones. So like clearance is no problem on these 18-inch Koenigs.
Yeah, so a lot of people say that be careful with cts-v because they're 6-piston calipers, that they might not fit in 18. But on these Koenigs and on the Grand Prix 18s, they work. As long as they have the lip, as long as they're like a true, not Chinese wheel.
These are the A, so on Koenigs at least, you can choose between A and B, and the A's have more clearance for big brake kits. Yeah. So I don't know how the B's would be, but
well, so if these were reverse mount wheels, the calipers wouldn't fit. So if you have a reverse mount wheel, 18, probably not gonna work with a CTS front caliper, but don't buy cheap wheels. So let's get to work on this, and hopefully we're done in 7 days, you think?
Yeah, exactly. We're building an arc.
Yeah. up the rear suspension. All the adjustable arms are on, so it has toe, camber, has the lowering or the springs right there, the new shocks. But figured out, Chris actually went to the store, grabbed another set of pads, and we figured out the whole pad issue. So they sent the wrong pads. These were probably like 20 mil. We tried grinding them down, but look at the difference between that. So what are these, 15 mil?
Yeah, so those are about 15, the AutoZone ones, and then those were about 20. The place said that what they sent you should have been 17.
Yeah, so there was our problem. I mean, we're trying to get those things to fit in, and that explains a lot. So now we can get these in there, put the brake lines on, put the rear brake lines on and the other pads, bleed the brakes, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Tesla is now back on the ground. Chris, what are your thoughts about the suspension?
Oh, I mean, it's great. Just some things took us longer than it should have.
I mean, the ride height looks great. We raised it a little bit. It was like 65 mil is what somebody said. We put it that. It was a little bit too low in the front. So now it's like 70 in the front, and it's about 22 millimeters in the rear. So one thing I didn't like about the front cts-v conversion is you had to drill out the caliper bracket or the knuckle, and you have to drill to 14 millimeter, which at that point...
Go look for a metric drill bit at anywhere around here.
That's the first thing. And then if you ever want to go back to your old calipers, you can't. So it pretty much, I don't know, if you want to sell the car back and pull the brakes off, if you're going to buy another Tesla, you're not going to be able to go back unless you ran a sleeve and made one, which most people that have Teslas, I think that would probably be kind of a difficult thing for them. You know, most people are going to just buy parts and have them put on, which this probably would have been a very expensive bill. But me and Chris did it in about a day.
Which probably like a solid 8 hours.
Yeah, solid 8 hours. And, you know, we did start at the college, and then we just ran out of time. I'm glad we didn't do the brakes because we couldn't find a 14 millimeter. Then the company sent you the wrong pads, and it was just, just a nightmare. So this cts-v conversion uses like their own rotor and like a rotor hat. So what I'm going to do in a month or two is come out with a kit where you don't have to drill out your knuckle. It'll just bolt the cts-v caliper directly to the Tesla knuckle with no modification. So if you want to go back to your old brake calipers and sell your car and turn it back to stock, it's not that big of a deal. And then I'm going to make it so it bolts the rotor hats to this normal, you know, cts-v or the track carbon fiber rotors.
Right. So so the C28's got carbon rotors that they come with. They're not very expensive for carbon rotors, $1,200 a piece.
Yeah. And companies are selling these things. So they're selling this kit with carbon rotors for like $8,000 to $13,000 or something like that. Very crazy. Yeah. So the calipers are, you know, you can find them in silver for like $400, red for some reason it's like $600, and then the rotors and everything with a carbon kit would probably be like $6,000 to $7,000. So I'll have those on my Instagram if you're interested in that.
Because the problem is the offset for the Tesla and the bolt pattern.
So cts-vs, aren't they 5x115 or 5x120? The Grand Prix is 5x115. These are 5x114.3, just like Nissans and RX-7s and all the good stuff has that bolt pattern. So, you know, just make it so it's a straight conversion. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about drilling anything. But tomorrow we're going to align this thing and get it all nice and set up because we can use the alignment lift at the college. I think it'll be a lot nicer if we do it instead of taking an alignment shop.
Put it right where we want.
And there's a lot of adjustable arms, and alignment shops kind of start to get in a hurry, and then they just, you know, they'll align it, but is it where you want it? So we'll just do that tomorrow and kind of revisit the Tesla and have some fun with it after it's aligned. But if you like these videos, make sure you click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, throw a comment below, and as always,
see you next time.